If you think modern governments are bad at spending your tax dollars, you have seen nothing yet. Today, we are looking at the ultimate champions of financial chaos, the Roman emperors. These men did not have a congress, a parliament, or a budget committee. They had total power, a bottomless vault of gold coins, and some truly magnificent mental issues. If a Roman emperor wanted to buy something, he didn't check his bank account. He just raised taxes, arrested a few wealthy senators to steal their property, and went shopping. But who was the absolute worst? To find out, we have to look at the 3 biggest financial disasters in Roman history. Welcome to the ultimate tax dollar showdown. Candidate number 1, Caligula. Let's start with a man whose name is practically synonymous with doing whatever you want, whenever you want. Caligula. When Caligula took the throne, the Roman treasury was overflowing. The previous emperor had saved up an astronomical fortune, about 2.7 billion sesterces. To put that in perspective, that was enough money to run the entire Roman military for years. Caligula looked at this mountain of gold and managed to spend every single coin in less than 12 months. How? Well, he didn't spend it on roads, schools, or aqueducts. He spent it on the ancient equivalent of super yachts. Caligula built 2 massive floating palaces on a tiny lake near Rome. These weren't regular boats. They were floating mansions made of cedar wood, marble, and gold. They had running hot water, plumbing, orchards with actual fruit trees, and massive dining rooms. He used them to throw giant, chaotic parties that lasted for days, traveling back and forth across a lake so small you could practically throw a rock across it. But his true masterpiece of financial waste was the bridge at Baiae. A fortune teller once told Caligula that he had as much chance of becoming emperor as he did of riding a horse across the Gulf of Baiae. Caligula, being a completely mature and stable adult, decided to prove that fortune teller wrong. He ordered his military to gather every single merchant ship they could find in the region. Thousands of boats were lined up across the sea to form a massive 3-mile-long floating bridge. Then, he covered the entire thing in dirt, so it looked like a regular road. What was the point of this massive engineering project? Option A, to create a vital trade route to boost the Roman economy. Option B, to march an army across the water to conquer a foreign enemy. Option C, to put on a gold cloak, ride his favorite horse across it, and then throw a giant party on the beach. The answer is option C. He built a 3-mile shipping blockade just to do a victory lap on a horse. The immediate result? A massive food shortage across Rome because all the merchant ships were stuck acting as Caligula's personal driveway. Candidate number 2, Nero. If Caligula was the king of spending money on water, Nero was the king of spending money on real estate. In the year 64, a massive fire destroyed a huge portion of Rome. Thousands of people lost their homes, and the city was in ruins. Nero looked at this tragic wasteland and saw a fantastic business opportunity for himself. He cleared away the ruins of the public neighborhoods and built the Domus Aurea, also known as the Golden House. This wasn't just a palace, it was a massive sprawling park right in the middle of downtown Rome. It covered over 100 acres. To make room for it, Nero had to evict thousands of his own citizens. Inside this giant compound, Nero had a lake, artificial forests filled with wild animals, and dining rooms with ceilings made of ivory that rotated and showered guests with perfume and flower petals. The walls were covered in gold leaf and studded with semi-precious stones. In the front yard, he built a 120-foot-tall bronze statue of himself, dressed as the sun god. When the palace was finally finished, Nero walked inside, looked around, and famously said, "Good, now I can finally begin to live like a human being." But building the palace wasn't enough. Nero was a man who deeply believed he was an artistic genius. He loved singing, acting, and playing the lyre. The problem, he was terrible at it. But when you are the emperor, nobody gives you a bad review. Nero decided to go on a grand concert tour of Greece. He forced entire towns to build massive theatres just for his performances. If you were an international audience member, you had 2 choices. Option A, sit quietly, clap enthusiastically, and pretend his screeching voice sounds like an angel. Option B, try to leave early and get executed by the guards at the door. People were so terrified of offending Nero during his 4-hour singing sets that historians record men faking their own deaths just so they could be carried out of the theatre in a coffin. The cost of this entire artistic tour? Nero completely drained the Greek treasury, stole thousands of ancient statues from local temples to decorate his golden house, and paid his personal clapping squad, a group of 5,000 soldiers whose only job was to cheer for him, a massive salary using taxpayer money. Candidate number 3, Elagabalus. Our final contender comes from a bit later in Roman history, a teenage emperor named Elagabalus. If Caligula loved boats and Nero loved acting, Elagabalus loved absolute luxury and chaos. Elagabalus had a very specific approach to meal prep. He refused to eat any food that wasn't incredibly expensive or difficult to get. He would throw dinner parties where the food was organized by color. One day, everything had to be blue, The next day, everything had to be green. He served rice mixed with real pearls, peas mixed with pieces of gold, and lentils mixed with precious amber stones. He once ordered his servants to bring him 10,000 pounds of spiderwebs. Why? Because he wanted to see how much they weighed. The servants spent weeks sweeping every dark corner of Rome just to fulfill a teenager's random curiosity. But his favorite hobby was playing pranks on his dinner guests using Rome's military budget. He would invite wealthy senators over for a massive feast, wait until they got completely drunk, and then lock them in their bedrooms. When they woke up, they would find themselves staring at a live lion, a leopard, or a bear that Elagabalus had secretly placed in the room. The animals were technically tame, but the senators didn't know that. Several of them reportedly died of actual heart attacks from the sheer fright. For another party, Elagabalus decided to surprise his guests with a beautiful shower of flower petals. He engineered a trick ceiling in the dining hall that opened up during the meal. But he didn't just drop a few handfuls of flowers, he dropped tons of violets and roses. The petals kept falling and falling and falling until the room was completely flooded. Several guests who were sitting on the floor couldn't get up in time and literally suffocated under a mountain of expensive flowers. To fund this lifestyle, Elagabalus started selling off high-ranking government jobs to the highest bidder. If you wanted to be a general, a tax collector, or a governor, you didn't need experience. You just needed a big bag of gold to hand over to the kid who wanted more pearls in his rice. The ultimate review. So, we have looked at the evidence. We have Caligula, who spent the entire Roman treasury in a year on floating palaces and a 3-mile horse driveway. We have Nero, who built a gold-covered mega-mansion over the ruins of his citizens' homes and paid an army to clap for his terrible singing. And we have Elagabalus, who spent fortunes on spiderwebs, animal pranks, and killing his friends with roses, who actually spent the most taxpayer money on weird things. While Caligula and Elagabalus were legendary spenders, the crown has to go to Nero, his grand building projects, his destruction of the currency's value to pay for his palace, and his forced artistic tours didn't just empty the bank vaults, they caused a massive economic collapse that triggered a bloody civil war the moment he died. So, the next time you look at your paycheck and see how much money is being taken out for taxes, just take comfort in one small fact: at least none of it is being used to buy 10,000 pounds of spiderwebs.